Discourse as dialogue. Developmentally, discourse comes first, both for the human species and for the human individuals. It means that when we started learning conversation, we started it from dialogues. No hard evidence of the origin of language in prehistoric communities. So we don't have any hard language, whether it was spoken or it was written language. We don't have any such thing that we could make that which of the two was the first one. There are obviously some clues, and they are reasonable to assume that speech preceded writing and dialogue preceded monologue. So when people started speaking, obviously they started speaking when they were in a community. So they wanted to communicate with others. So it was in the form of a dialogue. And then monologue, the speech of a one person to himself, that obviously started later. First we learn to speak in a community, and then we learn to speak to ourselves. The earliest written text of Western European culture, the Socratic dialogues, present as conversation what modern writers would present as monologue. So if we look at the history, so we find dialogues by Socrates, right? They were a sort of monologues, and if they were to be termed as something by the modern writers, they would term them monologues. Perhaps some of this preference remains in modern practices which favor face-to-face interaction, lectures, job interviews, and news interviews. So some of the dialogue is still found in conversation, like when we have face-to-face conversation, or we are giving lectures, or we are in a job interview, or we are in news interviews. Turn-taking and interaction are among the first communicative skills. So unless we give turns to other, we cannot have a communication. So it is believed that this turn-taking skill was among the first skills of the communication that human beings developed. So it means that it was dialogue that we started in the earlier phases of our speaking ability. Parents hold conversation even with every young baby. So you must have seen that mothers talk to their babies. Even then, the babies are very small. So let's look at a conversation which is between a mother and her 2 months old daughter. Mother, what you gonna tell me? Gurgling noise. So it's a sort of response. Come on, what you gonna tell me? Two gurgling noise, squeak, blows air through lips. What's a nice story? What else are you gonna tell me? Come on. Gurgling and dribbling noise. Mother, let's hear some more. So you can see that right from the early age, we get engaged into a process of dialogues, which is basically the initial of a conversation. So dialogues actually proceeded earlier than the other forms of communications.